Good afternoon, everybody. It is Friday, the 5th of February, 2021, and I'm here at my house. And I've been thinking all week, what do I want to do for the Facebook devotional? And I really want my devotionals to be a demonstration of you can read the scriptures and receive a blessing from it, and not in some sort of like magical sort of way, but reading scripture is us humbly telling God, like, hey, I need to follow your paths, and so I need to know your paths as you have recorded them in history. And 2021 has been a little, I guess, odd for me in this manner because I'm reading a unit of scripture in the Old Testament, New Testament, and then also a psalm and a proverb. So I have a lot of data that I'm processing, and it's hard to really just spit back out a thought. And also, Gracie's been wanting to wake up at like 6:15 in 2021, and that does not assist in me having time to really mull over and digest what I'm reading. But right now I'm in the part of Exodus that starts the part of the Pentateuch, or the first 5 books of the Bible, that everybody likes to say that they dislike, and that would be all the laws. So Exodus is exciting until chapter 21 for most people, and then people don't like Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, except for a couple of parts in Numbers where there's narrative. I'll read to you what I read this morning in Exodus, and this is after the 10 Commandments are given, and I want people to to listen to this part of Exodus just with a mind of, does this sound transformative, or does this sound enabling? And I want you to remember this. The context of this is these are case laws, so kind of like do this, not in situation A, do this. In situation B, do this. Kind of laws given to the people of Israel after they've been redeemed from a long time of slavery inside of the land of Israel. So this is the Lord trying to help his people be defined as with a national identity. And we have law codes from surviving law codes from Egypt, the Hittite culture. We have the law codes of Hammurabi, and so we have law codes from surrounding cultures from 400 years before the Exodus could happen to 400 years after the Exodus could happen. So we have lots of data that we can compare this to. And what I want people to think about is, when we read Scripture, are we reading it just to get something, or are we reading it to really try to figure out how did the Lord work at a specific point in history, and then what's the bridge that we can build from our point in history to that point in history, and then apply it? Because I think whenever we look at Scripture from a standpoint of what is God trying to tell me through this passage, without asking what was God doing in this passage, we lose out on a lot of things. So listen to this. This is Exodus 23, verse 1 and following. I'll go back to one verse. So you are my holy people. So do not eat the meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs. Do not spread false reports. Do not help a guilty person by being a malicious witness. Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd. And do not show favoritism to a poor person in a lawsuit. If you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering off, be sure to return it. If you see the donkey of someone who hates you fallen down under its load, do not leave it there. Be sure to help them with it. Do not deny justice to your poor people in the lawsuits. Have nothing to do with a false charge, and do not put an innocent or honest person to death, for I will not acquit the guilty. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds those who see and twists the words of the innocent. Do not oppress a foreigner, for you yourselves know how it feels to be foreigners, because you were foreigners in Egypt. For 6 years you are to sow your fields and harvest the crops. But during the 7th year let the land lie unplowed and unused. Then the poor among your people may get food from it, and the wild animals may eat what is left. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. 6 days do your work, but on the 7th day do not work, so that your ox and your donkey may rest, and so that the slave born in your household and the foreigner living among you may be refreshed. Be careful to do everything I've said to you. Do not invoke the names of other gods. Do not let them be heard on your lips. So I'm not going to walk through each of those case laws. I'm not going to walk through each of those commandments. But when you're reading through the scripture, ask yourself, especially in these Old Testament laws where you're like, what's going on? This isn't fun. This isn't a narrative. There's nothing exciting here. Where's the redemption? None of us like lists of do's and don'ts, especially as people who are part of Western cultures where it's all about the individual, me, myself, and I, where we like to think, what we like to make all the rules and regulations to protect us and to make our freedoms. But in this passage, it really speaks to something where you see the people of Israel were supposed to be defined by having justice, equality, and they were not supposed to allow even their disfavor or their enmity towards someone keep them from acting in love and in justice towards them. And so I want you to just think about how radical that is. I didn't read it here as in a previous day's reading. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. When we read that, actually no, that was earlier today. That wasn't part of the passage I read. We think, oh my goodness, that's so brutal. Just because someone hurts you doesn't mean you have to hurt them back. But right now, I can think from a personal example with my kids. It doesn't normally happen that whenever one of them does something small to the other, that the other just returns equally back to the other. It's usually a law of escalation. So if Bennett gets in Gracie's face, Gracie will slap Bennett, which is not that is not a punishment equal to the crime, though Bennett needs to learn to get out of Gracie's face. So think about this, though. We as people are so naturally inclined towards wanting to establish ourselves as being the final one, the right one, the one who can push people to do whatever we want. Yet, when we look at the laws that God gives for his people Israel in the Old Testament, there's this desire for them to be a people of love, a people of equity, a people of charity, and that a lot of the laws that are in it are designed to keep people from abusing others, because there's situations of power, there's situations of influence. I mean, just a situation of seeing your neighbor's donkey or oxen being overburdened, that's the time that you could take advantage of your opponent and make them suffer. But Scripture says, don't ever use an opportunity for personal gain by hurting the other person. So it's just very interesting. So I want to encourage you, if you're reading through the Bible in a year and you're in the Old Testament law codes and you're just struggling to read through them, or if you're part of the Old Testament where it's genealogies and you're like, what's going on? Don't be afraid to consult a pastor in your area. Don't be afraid to message me saying, hey, what's going on in this passage? Because oftentimes there is a context issue that we're missing. But look for how that passage is redemptive. So I love you all. I want you to have a good day. Bennett wants you to have a good day. And keep reading your scripture, but read your scriptures, not because it's a magical potion, or not some sort of thing that just gets you whatever you want, but read your scriptures because that is how God has revealed himself concretely in a concrete time, and we need to work hard to find that way that God communicated at that point in time. And then once we understand that, we can build the bridge into the modern day. Love you all. Have a great day. Say bye, Bennett.
Bye.